Hi crafters, this is Raquel with Paints and Glitter and I welcome you to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a process video on how I am creating a very special graduation card using the Treasured Dreams Base Creator Dies as well as the Clocks and Cogs kit number 59 from Tonic Studios. As you can see here, I have used the mirror card in rose platinum to cut out the cogs and the clock features, as well as the largest pieces of the Treasured Dreams die set to cut out what will be the card as well as the 4 panels that you see. I've also used the stencil that came in the kit, and using antique linen distress ink I went ahead and colored in on those 2 pieces of paper. So you see there the effect, it's very subtle but very nice. And then that double-sided cardstock came with the kit. So I went ahead and just used the side that matched, and here with this teal blue classic card I used the same stencil as well as the Persian red Nuvo embossing mousse to add some really beautiful texture. So as you can see here, using the largest die in that set, I did cut away one portion of only one of them in the black cardstock, and then the other portion there that creates the hinge, I went ahead and just folded it and added my deluxe adhesive, and this way I was able to create my card base. I did go ahead and burnish that, and now here you see how I'm planning out what will be the cover of my card. I'm using one of the circle dies and I set that aside, but first I'm going to add my panel. This is going to be on the front and back covers, and here you see that double-sided paper again. So all 4 of these are cut in the same exact size, and again that is the matting layer of the largest size available in the die set. And I also here have used some acetate, and I cut this out using one of the circles from the Clocks and Cogs. And cutting that circle out of that teal cardstock is going to allow me to create a shaker. Now I did decide to also cut out the same circle in the same size out of that golden cardstock that you see in the background, but that step is actually completely unnecessary. I just made a little bit more work for myself, but here you see how I place that. And in case you do want to make a double window, is what I would call this, then you can go ahead and make it the same way. But I don't know what I was thinking. But you'll see how I go ahead and cover that up anyway. All I did was cut out a second piece of acetate and cover that background, but you'll be able to see that in this video in case you really need to watch the steps that I had to follow. So here you see again that teal cardstock. It turned out absolutely beautiful. I used as much of it as possible because I had used the Persian red embossing mousse, and I really love the effect. So here I'm just planning out what my layers are going to look like, and I wanted to be strategic as to the placement because I wanted to use as many of those little cogs as possible. I just thought they were really nice and just give a lot of movement to this card. So here I'm taking away the lining of that acetate that I'll be using. This way it actually will be nice and clear. I also use double-sided adhesive and place it on the perimeter of the circle that I cut out of the paper that I will be using as the basically the frame or the cover of my shaker, because I will be using sequins and glitter on this card to make a little bit of a shaker, nothing too fancy, and you'll see how easy that comes along. I just now remove the backing of this double-sided adhesive, and once that is exposed I can place my layer of acetate right on top. I did kind of add a little bit more, and now I place that circle shiny side down, and this has a cover as well on the back, so I'll go ahead and remove that before I add the shaker pieces, and that's going to allow me to have a nice clear window on this card. Now what you see here are two pieces of foam adhesive, and this is very thin adhesive that I pick up over at scrapbook.com. You can definitely find links below on all of my videos to the supplies that I share. So if this is something that you need to create shaker cards with, I recommend it because of the size. I like to use this when I know that I'm going to be using a shape that's not a square or a rectangle. It just creates a nice bend in that foam, and it's not too thick. So that's why I would recommend it for this type of shape. And of course, you can definitely pick up foam adhesive and the like from Tonic Studios and then just cut it down to size. This just happens to be very convenient because of the strips. So this is what I'm going to add to the perimeter of this circle. And yes, it's very sticky, so be careful when you're using it. It'll stick to anything that's around you, as you could just tell. So I just cut away what I don't need. And this also has a backing, of course. So I'll be removing that backing and adhering this to that gold cardstock. Now, the way that I went about doing this was that I first filled in that little circle where the acetate is. I picked out some sequins, and I didn't want this to be too crazy as far as the colors were concerned for the shaker, so I just used some clear sequins, and I did use some mauve, they're called muted mauve hexagon sequins, and I also used the Sunny Side glitter from Tonic Studios. It is a very beautiful golden yellow, and there you see the mauve hexagons, and I love the color combination together with the gold and the teal that I was using for my card. So now I can just go ahead and take away the backing of the little strips here. And I did cut away one tiny little portion that was peeking out a little bit. So it's very user friendly. And now I'm taking that gold cardstock, and here you see where I'm just matching up the circle and the perimeter of that shape. And this is where I had to cover it up, of course, again with another piece of acetate. I followed the same steps, just using double-sided adhesive, cutting out another circle, and then removing, of course, the lining so that way it is nice and clear. And there you see all my little shaker bits are safe. Nothing was leaking out anywhere. And I just added my adhesive to that gold cardstock that I used as a layer. And now I can go ahead and decorate the front of my card. I wanted to make sure that the placement of the clock was according to how I was going to use this card. And while those layers were drying, you can see them on the bottom right hand corner of your screen, I went ahead and stamped out the sentiments and heat embossed them. And this was using some really beautiful blue embossing powder from Tonic Studios. I went ahead and stamped it twice actually to make sure I got a nice clear image. And I did use Versamark clear ink, and I heat embossed that, and I set that aside while I went ahead and continued assembling the hands of the clock. You see here I used a tiny little circle there just to attach the two little hands, the hour and the minute. And once I had those where I wanted to place them, and I pointed them at the 2 and the 3 just because it's for 2023, I figured that would be kind of fun. And I completed the front of this card by adding the cogs. Now here you see where one of them I want to place in that little corner. However, it didn't fit too well because I did have the dimension of that shaker panel. So what I did was I cut it in half and then placed it on top accordingly. And here you're going to see how I am using another Nuvo adhesive, and this one comes in the shape of almost like a ballpoint pen. So there is glue inside of that pen. You can definitely pick that up from Tonic Studios as well. I highly recommend it. And all you have to do is squeeze it lightly and go ahead and draw wherever you like. In my case, I'm using this on the perimeter of the card, and then using the gilding flakes in Sunkissed Copper, I went ahead and started placing these all the way around. I did allow this to get a little bit tacky, so if it goes from white to clear, then you know it's ready. So you can actually use that as a repositional repositionable adhesive as well if you like. But if you've ever worked with gilding flakes, you know that we always start out with the best intentions of making it super neat, but that never really happens. Just go for it, add as many as you like, and then I am using this little brush from Tonic Studios that's really excellent for removing any excess. And at the end, I did use my rubber eraser to remove anything I didn't want. Now, this is a mechanism from the Treasured Dreams base creator die set. I'm going to be adding this to the inside of my card because I wanted to make it very special. So you'll see how this comes about. But you're seeing me here fold the paper. They're all mountain folds. They face away from you, and then I had already placed my adhesive there, so you see how that shapes up. And you can definitely slow down the video if you need to follow these steps, but it ends up looking like a little hand. Once you have that little hand, flip it over and do the same thing over again. Every single fold that you see is going to be a mountain fold, and then you're going to see where the adhesive goes next, because it's on a very tiny tab that will be created. In this case, because it's so small, I went with the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, the wet glue, and then I did reinforce that. I held it together till it dried, and then I used my bone folder to go ahead and make sure it made full contact there. Now, as I always mention, my videos are sped up so that I don't take up too much of your time, but when you are gluing any of these items, especially anything that's a mechanism, be sure to give yourself time to allow all of that paper to dry before you move on to your next step. So you can set it aside, walk away, have a little something to drink, and then come back. So here, you're going to add the two little panels here. They come together with that third piece of paper. It looks like little Mickey Mouse ears. You're going to do that twice. And then once you have those two together, you can adhere the center portion, and those overlap, and they both go behind the paper in the front. I hope that makes sense. And here you're going to see me add this mechanism, and yet there are yet two more pieces that will adhere to this or attach to it. And this is going to allow you to decorate even further. And it'll start making sense once I start decorating it. But you see there, they attach really nicely. And I did use a darker teal color for this, but now I fold it in half, and it should fold flat. If you've done it correctly, it should all fold flat. And here, you're going to add the liquid adhesive, and it's almost like you're spelling out the letter E, but not adding it fully in the center. I hope that makes sense. But then what I did was that I sandwiched it inside of my card, and once that was dry, I opened it from the back and repeated the same steps. So here you'll be able to see where that glue goes. So just sandwich that, allow it to dry, and from here on out, all of it will be decorative. And what's really fun about this set is that you can add, whether it be die cuts that you like, phrases, little pictures. You're going to see how I decorate this. I took advantage of the leftover pieces from the clocks and cogs. I added those all around. And what you want to make sure that you do is when you're placing your little elements onto those little circles that I mentioned earlier that look like little Mickey Mouse ears, what you want to make sure you do is that you don't let it be so large that it overlaps outside of your card. So here you're going to see the little pieces that I use. They came with the die set, and I just combined them. I like to use something old, something new when I'm crafting, and I mix and match my items just to make something unique and just useful for the occasion. And what I did to adhere all of these or attach them was to use Craft Perfect double-sided adhesive. That red line tape is super powerful. So you're going to see that the orientation here is horizontal. I should have done it in the vertical fashion. However, I wasn't thinking, I just was having fun crafting, and this is going to be for my son who graduates high school this year. I don't think he's going to mind. These are older pictures of him for different years in which he had started school and the like, and they just brought back so many wonderful memories. So I decided to use these as part of the card, and you see how they overlap. You can decorate them to your heart's content or keep it simple. And what I want you to pay attention to, however, is when I adhere the center piece or the center picture. But if you see there, I'm strategically placing all of them so that when I close the card, they don't peek out. So that's the one thing you want to be paying attention to. But if you use the circles that come with the die set, it makes it a whole lot easier. And of course, you can watch another video that I have shared where I use the same die set with some really adorable bee themed papers, and that was far more whimsical. But here, I removed the adhesive that I had placed only on the right hand side of that rectangle, and I'm still going to center the picture, but the adhesive is only added to one portion of that so that you can fold it shut. If you apply adhesive to both of those pieces, then you won't be able to close your card. Of course, if you have any questions, I'm happy to respond, but I do hope that this is a useful video for you, that you can gain some inspiration. I know a lot of people say they have difficulty with masculine cards. I actually have a lot of fun making masculine cards, and if you need any tips on that, I'm happy to be of help. But here is the sentiment, and there you have it. That's my completed card. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you're new here, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff, and I hope that you can be inspired and be blessed. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.